In a recent study, 91% of Canadians agreed that the impact of investment fraud can be just as serious as the impact of crimes such as robbery and assault. Ladies and gentlemen, this presentation is going to empower you with the knowledge that can help protect you from becoming a victim of investment fraud. According to the 2012 Canadian Securities Administrators Investor Survey, 87% of Canadians agreed that you should never invest without researching the investment. Yet, only 57% actually did research their last investment. The survey also reported that 27% of Canadians believe that they have been approached by someone with a possible fraudulent investment. Alberta had the highest response in the country at 38%. The survey also reported that 4.6% of Canadians have invested in what they believe was a fraudulent investment, but this number is almost double in Alberta, with 8.2% of Albertans reporting that they have been scammed. The two most common forms of investment fraud perpetrated in Canada today are affinity fraud and Ponzi schemes. Affinity fraud is not a scam itself, but describes the circumstances where a scammer exploits the existing bonds of trust within a group. There are many types of groups, but some common targets are ethnic groups, age demographic groups such as senior citizens, religious, and social groups. If you are a member of any one of these groups, then you are at risk. With affinity fraud, the scammer integrates himself into a group by earning the trust and friendship of a key person within the group. He then exploits the trust and friendship this key person has with others to lure their family and friends into his web of deceit. Affinity fraud depends heavily on the personal recommendation of trusted family and friends to unwittingly bring new investors into the scam. While we use the term affinity fraud to describe how a scammer integrates an existing group and exploits their bonds of trust, a Ponzi scheme is the most common type of scam used to actually relieve investors of their money. A Ponzi scheme is named after Charles Ponzi, an infamous con man who successfully used the scheme in the 1920s. In a Ponzi scheme, the con artist presents an outstanding investment opportunity, promising high returns with little or no risk. Believing this is a great opportunity, the initial investors hand over their money and enthusiastically endorse it to other trusted members of the group. Now, the scammer may pay out some initial returns, but not from any profits. The returns are paid using money from new investors. The excited investors often invest even more money. They continue to bring in more friends and family into the scheme, and the scam artist continues to rake in big dollars. When coupled with affinity fraud, a Ponzi scheme can be extremely lucrative for the scammer, because investors are less likely to question the legitimacy of an investment that is recommended by a trusted friend or family member. However, sooner or later, the supply of new investors runs out. The scam falls apart, and the con artist makes off with most of the money. But you can protect yourself. Most scams have some common warning signs that are fairly easy to spot. Before you invest, the Canadian Securities Administrators recommends asking yourself these 5 questions. Were you promised a high return on a low or no risk investment? The first rule of investing is that the more money you can potentially make, the higher the risk there is of losing all or some of your investment. Did you have enough time to make a decision? You should never feel pressured into buying an investment on the spot. If you hear things like act fast or one-time opportunity, then the seller likely has something to hide. Were you given confidential or inside information? A scam artist may claim to have information that nobody else knows, but you have no idea if the information is true. Even if it is true, trading on inside information is illegal. Can you verify the investment with a credible source? Get a second opinion from a registered financial advisor, lawyer, or accountant. And finally, is the person running the investment scheme registered? Anyone who tries to sell you an investment or give some investment advice must be registered. Contact the Alberta Securities Commission to check if someone is registered or if they have ever been convicted of a securities law violation in the past. You may not be able to prevent being exposed to investment fraud, but by understanding how investment fraud works and knowing the questions to ask, you have the power to prevent becoming a victim.